Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. We're going to look at Will Howard today, 6th-round pick in the 2025 draft class, and overall, this just seems like a great value pick. Will Howard was projected to go definitely earlier than the 6th round. According to NFL.com, he was a 4th to 5th round projection. I thought more 4th round. Higher floor guy, questions about the ceiling, but we're going to kind of dive into a few things here to really kind of get a good look at some of the things he does exceptionally well. And then one legitimate area of concern that I wanted to bring up. Again, this is not going to be an all-encompassing look. This is a snapshot view of his career at Ohio State, or at least what he did at Ohio State down the stretch, or this specifically this past season, but also looking a lot at what he did in the college football playoffs. And here, the first play right here is going to be in the national championship game. Really quick, Will Howard, 6'4", 236 pounds at the combine. Really good size for a quarterback. Hand size, bit of a concern. Only 9-inch hands. That's like right on the bare minimum of what NFL teams really want at a quarterback. You're less than 9 inches, it's almost a deal breaker. Hand size isn't everything. When it comes to a quarterback, it definitely helps you grip the ball more. It helps you. It used to be a thing, like a really big bugaboo. It's not as much anymore, but it's still something to consider, that his hands are definitely on the smaller size. But, we can still see, that there's plenty here. And, this first play right here, this is a legitimate NFL throw here from Will Howard. Play action. You got a 3-level concept here, which is typical for NFL concepts. You're going to get this guy. He's running a clear here, so that's the deep. When we talk about 3 levels, once I have this mapped out here, the number 2 right here, he's gonna come up and kind of rub and then come down on this crosser, and then he's actually going to cut inside and run this crosser to the other side. So when I say 3 levels, I mean you have short, you have your intermediate, and then you have your deep. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about 3 levels. A lot of play action concepts in the NFL just in general, but especially like in the NFL, when you're looking at play action concepts, a lot of them, especially these the ones to the numbers, are 3-level throws. And a lot of the time you're going to end up hitting either the 1 or the 2, depending on what the flat defender is doing, what coverage the defense is in. And so we can see here, Notre Dame's in man, and the only guy that could possibly be a threat here is this guy, as he backpedals. And so at this point, you got, this guy deep, so you're definitely not going to hit your deep target. And so he's already decided, and this is a good, anticipation throw here, which is, again, a good thing to see from Howard. You want to see anticipation when throwing. Yeah, he's already starting to get rid of the ball there. He's already broken through. This is also really good design. Instead of like coming out and then doing that, he actually runs inside of the block and then goes, which actually gives him better separation on the guy who's covering him. So this is also a good design here as well, because look at that. He's already running past him. So. And again, this is a really good throw, really good touch to get it over this defender right there. It's a really good throw. This is an NFL caliber throw. And I don't think anybody's really questioning that Will Howard can do that, especially when throwing on platform. And we're talking about on platform. We're talking about typical base. He's got his feet set. He has plenty of time, and that's a clean pocket. You're anytime a quarterback can get that, you're going to be able to, work through your reads. And even though there's not really much of a read here, you can see, okay, he probably glances at what's going deep. Okay, those guys are covering deep. Again, he's not having to. He's probably then starting to read this defender right there to see what he's doing, and I'm just going to layer it over the top. It's a good throw. Good throw from Howard there. Good stuff. This one, I really, really like this throw a lot. This actually might be my favorite throw because when you see the window he puts it through, this dude's got some legitimate NFL accuracy. There are some questions about how great the arm is, but from what I watched, I'm not a scout. I like to talk to scouts to try to better just better educate myself on what to look for. I saw some throws that look like they'll translate to the NFL level, and this is another one right here. Nice fake to the outside, but it doesn't. I mean, that's a tight window, and again, on platform, really drives. Again, he doesn't throw off his back foot. He has to drive it through. I mean, he's not open there. He's already let go of that ball. When you talk about anticipation is throwing the ball before the receiver's open. Anticipating that your receiver is going to get into that window, and by the time the receiver gets into that window, the ball's going to be there and he's going to be open. That's what anticipation is. And so when you hear, good anticipation, that's what you want to see. I mean, he is starting his throwing motion right there. When you see the ball separate, when you see him start to rear back, he's starting to make his throwing motion. The receiver is right there, and he's throwing it right there. That is anticipation with a capital A, that he's going to get into that window. That's a tight window. That's a good throw. And it does not happen without the anticipation. I'll let you watch that one more time, because that's impressive. Like to see anticipation. Sometimes, especially throwing outside the numbers on the flat routes or the out routes, he kind of does this hitch before he throws. He's going to have to get more into, hit that third step and fire instead of 1, 2, 3 hitch then fire. But that's stuff that quarterback coaches can work with. You're not gonna downgrade just because he hitches when he hits his third step and is slow. Like, no, you can work with that. That's a good throw from Will Howard. This one, big time situation. I remember watching this game, big game between Penn State and Ohio State. Penn State just cannot beat Ohio State right now. It does not matter what they do. This is a big play. 4th and 1. Obviously, Penn State is selling out to try to stop. That's Quinshaw Junkins in the backfield. So that's their power back. They obviously are running showing run, but they come out here. This ends up being a naked keeper to the outside, and this guy in pursuit here, that's Abdul Carter. That is the 3rd overall pick in the draft. The best edge rusher in a very, very deep class of edge rushers. And Will Howard puts him on skates. Whoop. And layers a throw. And, I mean, if that guy wouldn't have caught it, he almost drops it. If anything, that could have been intercepted. If he bobbles that one more time, that guy could have easily picked that off and ruined a phenomenal play by Howard. I mean, just completely fakes him. And then this is what we call off platform. He's not taking time to get set. He can't. He's on the run. Off platform throw. Layers it over the defender. Just out of reach. Perfect, right in the breadbasket. That should have been catch, run up, turn up field, possibly, and then get more yards. Instead, he bobbles, and corrals it right at the last second to convert the 4th and 1. That's a huge play, and that's a great play by Howard. I like to see the off-platform throws, because you want to see how much his arm can bail him out whenever he's not in a perfect situation. How much can the arm continue to get things done? And there are some people who have questioned the arm. Again, I'm seeing better stuff from the arm. Not saying that he's got an average arm. I don't think people who have kind of hated on the arm have said he's got an average arm. I also understand not saying, okay, that dude's got an elite arm, but man, I look at this throw right here. Off the back foot, again, just another throw with really good touch that ends up traveling. Let's see, he is at the 5-yard line. Back foot's on like the 4.5-yard line when he lets go of that, and it goes all the way up to it is caught at the 24. So that's a 20-yard throw from where he is. A 20-yard throw off his back foot with perfect touch right in the breadbasket. That's a really good throw. I'm not questioning the arm. I'm sorry. I've not seen enough, not just from what I watch or just the few clips that have been here, but anytime I've watched him, I've never thought, oh, well, that dude's got a noodle arm or that dude's got an average arm. I thought it's a pretty good arm. Not a Josh Allen cannon, but I think he's got a pretty good arm, honestly. This right here is the kind of stuff that questions about Will Howard. If you go to NFL.com, it's not just, and this is not just an NFL.com thing. This has been pretty much one of the main things. One of the main knocks on Will Howard, and one of the weaknesses listed is had some contested throws bailed out by receivers' ball skills. And this is kind of an example of it, and I want to explain why this ends up being a 50-50 ball to Trevion Henderson. Now, Trevion Henderson, second round, that's a heck of a pick, and that is a flat-out 50-50 ball. Trevion Henderson, early second-round pick. Here's the concern when it comes to this stuff. And, people are like, well, he had a lot of talent around him, and so he was able to, that talent helped him beat coverage a lot. Okay, well, he's going to be throwing to NFL talent. He's going to be throwing to George Pickens and DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth. Calvin Austin's turned into a pretty good number 3. I mean, he's got legitimate NFL weapons. He's also going to be facing legitimate NFL corners and defensive backs. And at Ohio State, he could do a lot of first read throw. I don't think Will Howard is a first read quarterback like Jackson Dart was at Ole Miss, because Will Howard's system was not necessarily a first read system, more NFL concepts than you would see at Ole Miss with Jackson Dart. And it's hard to knock Will Howard for constantly hitting his first read, because his first read was open a lot, because he was throwing to legitimate. I mean, Emeka Egbuka was a first-round pick. I mean, he's got some legitimate weapons who were going to get open quite a bit. The thing is that that NFL teams are going to force him to go through his reads. And here, the Ohio State's running straight up mesh. So you've got this guy running. This is another route here. You got another guy coming up to stop. The running back is running a wheel, and then there's a deep clear. That's mesh. That is your typical mesh concept, and it's a great man beater, because this guy coming across on this drag is going to end up picking for number 4 here, and that's why you run mesh, because guys can get lost in the wash, and he ends up breaking free. He's wide open. You can really see it from the other angle. From the end zone angle here, because you can see number 4, and see, the thing is that Howard, now granted, he's under duress here. I understand that he's got a guy, but if he gives it another half second, he'll still have more time. And look, again, if you anticipate this, that's going to be open, because it's not going to take long for him to get there. But he makes up his mind there before really this guy even really kind of breaks off the block, he's already kind of made up his mind, I'm gonna make this throw. Because you're looking at not where the throw begins, you're looking at where the throw starts. And it starts, he pats the ball there. And remember that anticipation throw that we saw? I mean, it's not going to take long for him to get there, and it's going to be open. But he makes up his mind that he's going to throw this because that might be his first read depending on the coverage. Again, one thing I will never do in Chalk Talk is going to pretend to know how this is coached up, who his first read is, and his first read could easily change because of the coverage that he's seeing. But if you're relying on a jump ball to a running back consistently at the NFL level, that's not going to work. If you're going to throw jump balls to George Pickens, okay, that'll work. You can live with throwing jump balls to George Pickens because he's going to catch more than 50% of them. That's, again, you want to see him go through because that's open. And I'm not knocking Howard here for this. It may sound like I'm knocking him. I'm really not knocking him. There's just not a big enough sample size at the college level. I'm trying to help explain it so that you may understand why did he last all the way to the 6th round. It's because there's not a huge sample size of him having to go through first read to second read to third read to, tuck and run or get rid of it or whatever it is. And NFL teams are going to absolutely force him to do that. And there's not a big sample size of that. That's one of the downfalls of playing with such a good roster, such a good team, is that it's a completely different story if we're talking about Drew Aller at Penn State, who's going to be in the draft next year, because Drew Aller has trash for targets. I mean, last year it was Tyler Warren, who's a beast, and then nobody else. Unless you're talking about Nick Singleton or Katron Allen out of the backfield. Drew Aller has nothing at receiver. Will Howard had a Mika Ibuka first-round pick. So, again, it's not a knock on Howard. It's hard to say you're a bad quarterback or you're not going to be a good NFL quarterback because you consistently hit the open read or the open guy who's your first read. But NFL teams are going to force him to become a better quarterback than that because his first read is not going to be open all the time. There's actually going to be a lot of times in which his first read is not always open. So I understand why he wasn't going to be a surefire first or second round pick. I also think for the 6th round, this is a heck of a value. He's played in an offense with NFL concepts. He's made some very legitimate, this one right here, very legitimate NFL throws, throwing with anticipation. He's got a good arm. Not a phenomenal arm, but he's got a good enough arm to play at the NFL level. He's made some very big throws and big plays out of structure, can buy time. These plays right here against Penn State are perfect examples of it. In some big games, too. I mean, again, national championship, playing against Penn State in the middle of the season. I understand that's regular season. That's Penn State's Super Bowl right now. Like, they are playing their absolute hardest to try to beat Ohio State every single time, and Will Howard just... He made play. He had a terrible throw on the first play of the game. He threw a pick six, but then he bounced back, made some big-time throws in that game. In a game in which that opponent was playing them harder than almost anybody else did all season. And he made some big-time throws in a game. That's the kind of stuff you like to see. He's got a good head on his shoulders. There's a lot to like about this pick. I understand some of the concerns about his ceiling at the NFL level, because if you don't have a big sample size of actually having to play quarterback and go through the first read, go through the second read, the third read, how quickly can you get to your check down? How quickly can you get through everything, make your decisions so that you can play within structure, get the ball to where it needs to go without panicking, without having to, So I understand that stuff. But again, 6th round pick, I'm all for it, man. I think this is a heck of a pick for the Steelers. I gave it an A+ when it came to grades. It was one of 2 A+ in the draft. Caleb Johnson was the other one, again, mainly because of the value. 6th round, I think this is a phenomenal pick. So enjoy it. I'm excited to see how he develops. I think he's going to be the number 3 quarterback this season. Obviously, we still have yet to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a matter of when, not if. But if it ends up being a depth chart of Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard's going to have some good guys to learn from. Absolutely. So that'll wrap up this edition of Chalk Talk. A little bit on the longer side, but I knew this is going to be a little bit longer because it's a quarterback, and there's a lot of emphasis on quarterbacks, even for 6th rounders, especially one that just won a national championship. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back. What's today? Thursday today. Yeah. So we'll be back one more to close out the week, and then we'll enjoy the weekend. And we'll be back on Monday. We'll continue to go through anything with the draft, but also continue to look at the Steelers themselves, because pretty soon OTAs are starting. Be exciting. Catch you guys on a flippity flip. We'll see you later.